Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to see you all today. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation for our webinar. My name is Elizabeth Joki, and I'll be your host and the moderator of this conversation today. And I'm an associate advocate in the firm of Njogu and Associates. We apologize, we were not able to have our other panelists for today's discussion. Ruth, we're still going to do it. We are joined by Joy Gertrude. Joy is a legal intern as well in the firm of Njogu and Associates. Straight on to today's topic, we are discussing mental health in the workplace, because the work environment is one of the key areas which constitutes a person's daily life. You know, you have your family, that's a facet of your life, but also the workplace actually is one of the areas where we spend most of our time, most of our energy, most of our lives. The largest percentage of your day, you probably spend it at your workplace. What I want to, I want to throw the floor to you, Joy. When we talk about mental health, and specifically in the work setup, what do we mean?
When we talk about mental health, what are we? We're talking about in terms of your colleagues, in terms of your boss, in terms of the workload. It has a lot of, the word environment comes with it's a heavy word. So the environment should be safe and conducive and healthy for one to be able to deliver and to perform as required. So when we talk about environment, we will talk about our work environment has two sides of the coin. There's the employer and the employee.
Mm-hmm.
And today it's a special edition since people think about mental health in terms of the employee, but we'll also feature in terms of the employer because they're human too. So they're not gated from experiencing mental health.
So I like what Joy has said, that the workspace entails a team. There are two sides of the coin. You have the employer and the employee. That is what constitutes the environment. And one of the terms that have become so common today is the word toxicity. It could be toxic environment, toxic relationship. The word toxic these days has become a common term in people's tongues. You hear about you're working in an environment or workspace that is toxic. People talk about, leave it, If you're in a toxic relationship, leave it. People are concerned about their mental health, and it has become a very pertinent issue, the issue of mental health. In the recent, let me say, times that people have come to be much sensitive, or the awareness of mental health has not been a common thing in the years past. It's something that has emerged as an issue that is deserving attention. Previously, people used to go through mental issues, but since no one talks about it and no one even understands what you're going through, anxiety, depression, mental instability, emotional distress, these things that people used to go through before, I think people had never found a term for it. And until people realize that, mental issue is actually a thing. It's good that the issue of mental health has now become, something that people are talking about and people are bringing much awareness. And that kind of sensitization is very, very, very much important. So that is our photo. I don't know what comes to mind when you see that picture. Maybe you can share on the chat. What comes to mind when you see that picture? Okay, someone says being overwhelmed. Okay. Stress. Great. Mwase is saying stress and overwhelmed. So I'll go with that. So this portrays someone who is stressed. Pressure. Someone is saying pressure. And what I can also see in this context, this looks like someone who is in a working environment. I'm seeing assignments, I'm seeing tasks, I'm seeing work coming towards the person, and what can describe the emotions that this person is going through is perfectly what has been described by the people that have given their responses on the chart. There's an interesting fact I came across on the WHO website. They say that globally, an estimated 12 billion working days are lost every year to depression and anxiety at a cost of USD 1 trillion per year in lost productivity. So from those statistics, we can clearly see that the mental health affects the productivity at the workplace. So we cannot talk about productivity without talking about mental health. So when I look at that picture, Joy, what comes to mind? Help us interpret this picture. As well on the chat, you can share, when you look at this picture, what comes to mind?
So as you can all see, this picture gives the vibe of an employer and an employee, I presume. But as you can see, there's some tense environment in that work area. As one lady is looking away, the other one is deep in thoughts. The other ones, I think all of them, there is a different vibe from that photo. So you can see that clearly there's a mental health issue here affecting both the employer, because maybe he's questioning on work delivery or something that has not been done as it should be, and the employees are in tension on how to handle that issue at hand.
Okay, I'm seeing Christian Mwasia is saying there may be several employees in an organization who may also impact on each other's mental health. Oh, great. I love that perspective, that there's also the employee-employee relationship. That's a good angle to it. I concur with Joy. When I look at this photo, I'm seeing an employer who is, he looks distressed, probably angry or something, but the environment here doesn't look so cool. And here are employees who look also distraught. So Joy, now that we are saying that mental health affects both the employer and the employee, so how or what are some of the ways in which the mental health of an employer, let's start with the employer, now that we have said that the common picture or the common notion is that the employee is always the victim. I would like you to tell us, in what ways would the mental health of an employer be affected within a workspace context?
We'll put this in terms of he's the manager, he or she holds the managerial position. So you find that his execution, making decisions, and his task of executing and making decisions revolving around the organization, and that will affect the organization plus the employees, is affected negatively. In that you find that he may make rash decisions that may submerge the organization, and he may make those temperamental decisions due to the heat of the moment of the situation. Thus, that gives the environment in that organization to be unstable. So people don't know, like, you don't know tomorrow due to the decisions that are made out of heat of the moment.
So are you saying that we should also understand that, our bosses also are experiencing some heat? That's what you're saying?
It's like a circle. It's a complete circle from the employer to the employee to the clients. The clients affect in turn if there's poor productivity, the revenue generation in that organization becomes low for that period. Yeah, let's call it that period when there were issues in that organization.
The issue of mental health also is there are two strands to it. That there is the aspect where the environment should be such that it promotes the mental and emotional wellness of the people that are working in that space, and making sure they remain stable, they are stable. And also there's the other bit where someone already in the organization is having their own mental issues, okay? So how do you support this person to recover? And I hope that as we continue to discuss, we'll be able to touch on how those two aspects can be achieved. When we talk about a safe and psychologically healthy work environment, what does it look like? Practically speaking,
Both the employer and the employee feel welcomed in that organization in terms of like we say tomorrow, the end of the day, you got like, oh my God, it's the next day is a working day. Like you regret, you don't long to go back to that organization because you remember that you will go through that day. I think it should give that vibe of rejuvenation. You long for the next day where you're happy when you like, hey, it's a working day, let me go to work. I have to, because it's not, you don't take it like an obligation or a duty or something that you're being imposed to do. You just enjoy it. Let's say you enjoy doing what you do. For you to make it an enabling environment, the leader should be a person who is approachable, a person that you don't fear to approach it when you have issues affecting, okay, not affecting you personally. There are issues that you cannot come tell those personal issues, but there are personal issues that you can also come and tell. So the leader should be approachable. The other issue is on investment. I think an organization should work towards motivating its employees, not in a big, every small step counts. So investment in terms of motivation, you can give them trainings, you can give them talks, you can take them out for team building, or it depends on how you want to do. There are different modes of doing that. In terms of, there's another fold of participation where every person's views are considered, especially when it comes to making decisions that will affect everybody. There should be consideration of every person's view and also participation while making those decisions. And there should also be the issue of compliance. You should be compliant as an organization to avoid the bustles of the long arm of the law and other. And you find that the environment will be conducive and safe for people to work in.
I'd like to hear from the rest of us. For you, what is an ideal safe environment for you? Healthy and psychologically safe environment for you? I'd like to hear from the chat. For you, when you think about that, to add on what Joy has said, for me, a safe and healthy environment would be a place where I'm finding balance in life. I'm finding balance in life where my work life does not undermine every other aspect of my life. A safe environment for me is where I'm able to express my views and opinions. If I feel something is not going right, if I feel the way this issue is being handled is having a negative impact on me, I'm able to air that out without the fear of negative repercussion. I'm able to freely call out things that I feel are not wrong without fearing that my job is going to be at stake. So for me, that's what it looks like for me. And when I talk about balance, every other facet of my life, when in an organization, people are different. There are people who are single, there are people who are married, there are people who are families. And outside the office, you have your other life. You have children you're taking care of. Do you think, Joy, in your opinion, how do you feel about how, especially people that have families, think about it, the situation you have kids who need your attention, you have a husband who needs your attention, how do you feel that normally affects them in terms of their mental and emotional wellness, that balance? How do you think that affects them?
It affects them negatively since that you're not present. For kids, they can say you're an absentee parent. And that's, especially now with the CBC era, there's no way you can evade being a present parent. I think they incorporated that to address the issue of absentee parents. They should be, every time schedule should be respected. If it's my time to work, let me work. If it's my time to be a mom or a wife, let me work. Like yesterday, I saw a post by one of our one of our seniors in this profession, George Kashindi, was talking about how lawyers, people in this profession, should get wives who are not wives, spouses who are supporting. There's no way I'll be all day, I'm dealing with people's issues, and then when I go home, I also have to deal with my issues with my spouse. Like, we should be welcoming. In a nutshell, he was saying, like, when you're choosing a partner, choose it like your life depends on it, because your partner dictates other spheres of your life, like your productivity, your happiness, a lot of spheres of your life. As I was saying, like, if it's every time schedule should be respected. If it's you're supposed to work from 8 to 5, you're 8 to 5, you should work towards being productive to the organization. After that, you should be a mom, you should be a wife, you should be the teacher, or whatever you should be. After that, you should be like, respect every time schedule. Let not other time schedules come to that, because definitely one will suffer, and when it suffers, it will affect others.
One of the ways that we can maintain a healthy work environment is by having functional, or rather structures within an organization. That's what you're saying, work structures. Yeah, and the issue about, respecting time schedules, understanding that this person, beyond them being an advocate in this firm, beyond them being an accountant in this firm, beyond them being a salonist, or wherever they are a mom. They have kids to attend to. They are a dad. They have kids to spend time with. They have a wife to spend time with, a husband to spend time with. So they have family, and the responsibility is not just on the employer, but I also have a responsibility. That's what you're saying. So, because if I have deadlines to meet, I should be able to be responsible enough to manage my time, so that now I don't start blaming my superiors and saying they're causing me to work overtime. Because if my employer is not getting the expected input, or rather output from me, they will be frustrated, because they're expecting that I'm going to deliver, but I'm not working my best to deliver. So their frustration, they're going to pour it on me, and then I'm going to be stressed. So that cycle, at the end of the day, ends up bringing a very hostile, tense atmosphere, so that people are working under, anxiety, there's fear. Joy, I would like you to talk about what are some of the factors that put the mental health of people in a workplace at risk.
Before I talk about that, sorry, let me answer John's question, where he was saying that, where he's asking that, is work environment dictated by fundamental culture? Yes, I would say yes to some extent, but times are changing. You should do away with the expired fundamental culture and incorporate the trending one. Like, if you find a culture saying that getting the employment of a certain gender of people, that should be done away with, because we are moving to also inclusivity of all genders. If you find a culture where it's racist, that culture should be done away with, because we want to be an all-inclusive and equal organization, where the goal of both the employer and the employee is towards the high productivity rate of that organization. I hope I'm clear there. There are several factors that
sorry to cut you short. Now that you have handled John's question, I see he followed up with a comment, because I had asked him to clarify, and I'd like to add on what you said. Question now, he says that structures are only as good as the culture being promoted. If the leadership cannot drive efficiency and effectiveness, it seems pointless having structures. What I'm getting from John, and I do agree with you, John, that structures are useless if the culture there is not healthy.
Thank you for that, Njoki. As I was saying, there are several factors that trigger mental health. Let's name them, like sexual violence, racism, discrimination, inequality, excessive workload, and also job insecurity, where you're not certain about your job.
excessive workload. Would you dwell a bit deeper in it? Because I feel like it's a very common notion.
I think there's no measure of excessive workload, I believe. I think to address that issue, you should have timelines. You should prioritize your work. And those that are really urgent, super urgent, you work, those that have a red flag. Let me call it a red flag. Those that are super urgent, for me, they're the red flag. You should address them with immediate, like it was yesterday. But you find that for our profession, you find that there are those that really, really need immediate attention, and there are those that can buy time. So I think you should prioritize your work so that you can address the issue of excessive workload can be, in a way, be addressed.
As Joy, you have said it. How to address it is, of course, respecting timelines and making sure that your work structured is well. For me, the issue of excessive workload, I would think of it in this sense that someone is being subject to what more than they can handle within a reasonable period of time. Like, so close deadlines, a lot of tasks, all of which have very close deadlines, and you're being expected to deliver. I feel like that can cause a lot of tension on the people working, because, you know, you're tensed up. And I'd want to go back to this first slide. I'm thinking of this person as probably they have like 4 superiors, and they are receiving work from person A, person B, person C, person D. All of them think their work is urgent. And especially when you're working in a setup where maybe the team is a bit bigger and there's a lot of delegation. So everyone is dropping work on your desk and everyone wants their work to be urgent. And there's no cohesion, or there's no system of work where we are able to establish who has given you work, so that when I'm bringing work to you, I know so person so and so and so has also given you work. Nobody cares to know who else is giving you work and how urgent it is. So everyone is just loading work on you, and as far as they're concerned, their work is urgent. And you can't go and say, I was working on person so and so's task because it was more urgent. But like, no, why are you undermining my own work? So I think that also goes back to the issue of structures. Having a system of work where within a team, within an organization, there is a way to harmonize work, so that there's a bit of order, so that people don't end up having undue or unhealthy burdens or pressure. Yeah, that can be managed. I feel like that can be managed. Not all work demands are unhealthy. There is what is healthy. And it's in the place of the people within an organization to understand how much can Joy handle within this period of time. Okay, because if I give you, Joy, work that you cannot handle within a reasonable period of time, that's how you end up staying working so extra hours. Of course, we allow for there are those reasonable times where you will be expected to go beyond your usual working hours when it's necessary or when urgency demands. There are those exceptions, but of course it shouldn't be on a daily basis where every day you're leaving the office at 10 p.m. When will you have time with your family? When will you have time for your own personal self? When will you have time to work on your own spirituality? When will you have time to fellowship? When will you have time to, just do your own personal development, do your own studies? You don't have time for yourself. You're leaving work at 10 p.m. Tomorrow you're in again at 8 a.m. during weekends, all that. So I feel for that there's no balance.
Another trigger is job insecurity. Job insecurity is a major issue in that you're not concentrated on the current work that you're in because you don't know tomorrow. You don't know the next minute, the next hour. You don't know whether the full stop that you have just put is the last full stop that you put. So there should be an element of job security that will address the issue of mental health. You also find there's also the issue of over-promotion. You're promoted in a docket that you're not really conversant with. There's the element of over-promotion or under-promotion. Under-promotion, yes, kutakuwa na makasiriko. Over-promotion, you won't realize it, the effect that it has on your mental health until you're actually there. But for under promotion, you'll realize it immediately you see that offer letter. You're like it's taking an associate to an intern position or a manager, like such an issue. Over promotion, you find that in a perspective where maybe you're being promoted to a department that you're not really conversant with. We say you're a lawyer in the legal department, and then you're promoted to a department maybe in accounting, where you have to do we do checks and balances, but you're promoted in where you have to do the audits. The audits that the accountants do, where you have to do that task. You see that will be quite challenging to you, and it will really, really affect your mental health, since you can't deliver on the same, because you don't know you don't have the experience and the expertise in that field. So when you're faced with such a situation, just be frank with the leader in that organization and tell them like, hey, I really appreciate the position, I really appreciate the promotion, but I request this and this because of this and this. Just be open and frank as possible with that.
All right, that's an interesting factor of a promotion. I want to read some of the contributions from the rest of us. Someone is talking about lack of role clarity, which I agree. When it's not clear what exactly you're supposed to do within an organization, it imposes on you stress because you're not sure what you're supposed to do. So what are my expectations? If you don't deliver, someone has an issue with you, but it's because you're not exactly clear what you're supposed to be doing. And also when there's no role clarity, when the job description is not clear, everything is thrown your way. Another person, John is saying, Joki, that is the result of a bad culture, and as Faith has said, lack of role clarity. Yes, a company is only as strong as the leaders, personal and corporate culture. I totally agree with you. Faith is adding working long hours or overtime, working through long hours or overtime, working through breaks or taking work home. Oh, taking work home, interesting. Yeah, high emotional task demands, for instance, work that is emotionally disturbing. That's an interesting one. When you talk about emotionally disturbing, what comes to mind is an instance I read on LinkedIn where someone was talking about how they were working as a doctor, I think. So they were taking this person to hospital in an ambulance, and they were the only people in that ambulance. It's at night, they have to handle the case, and then the person dies in their hands. They have to go to the morgue, go through the process of, having that body carried, and, it was very, very emotionally disturbing for them. And then the most unfortunate thing is that the next day, their boss fired them. Imagine having to go through that kind of emotional torture, and then you lose your job. So I think that's what we could be talking about. I want to read this. I found it. Someone was saying in a comment on a LinkedIn post that they left a company. I left a company. At first, I had passion and love for what I was doing, but with time, it turned into emotional trauma. Being supervisor in a toxic work environment is one of the most depressing experiences I've ever had. Sometimes I could sleep for 3 hours in a day. 3 hours in a day. That talks about someone who is overburdened, overloaded with work, stretched beyond capacity. No time for myself. You think that you have no time for yourself, family, and sometimes I could even find myself dozing off during work hours. And just to add on that, that's my own note that, you were dozing work hours, probably your boss will come and have issues with you because of that. But the reason why you didn't sleep is because there was work that you had to do. And then he says that on top of that, my superiors being disrespectful. So I find that as well as another trigger for mental issues, disrespect within the workplace. Imagine your superior calling you at 2 a.m., giving you an assignment at 2 a.m., and on top of that, you have to hand in that assignment by 7 a.m. Someone calls you at 2 a.m. to give you an assignment that you have to hand over at 7 a.m. For goodness sake, when do you sleep? Cameras everywhere in the office, like as if employees were test subjects. Talking was limited. Try talking to a friend. That would turn into a huge case at office, and even salary payment dates were worse. Had to leave that toxic environment. So Joy, allow me to wind up this this conversation about triggers. Tying disrespect, another cause I see is intimidation. And intimidation is not always spoken. I don't have to come and, and tear you down with words. Sometimes it's about demeanor. It's about demeanor. So there's a way you can create an aura of intimidation around you. That also causes stress in the people that are working under you.
I think not some of the triggers, or how to address some of the triggers, is that institutions should now should work toward establishing a mental health department. You find that most of the, like as John said, he has said, like many industries go through emotional disturbing situations, from journalists who go through trauma in coverage of conflict, bankers who get high net worth clients, who treat them in a very inhumane manner. And the company does not jump in to side with you. I think in such situations, what I can just say is that every field has its own different emotional draining moments. For lawyers, maybe it's when we have to deal with, yeah, we know those cases, when we have to deal with our cases, some are so emotionally draining. So I think every organization should work towards having a mental health, what is it called? A mental health department, where maybe they put a counselor. I've said a counselor because that should be really confidential. On what I tell my counselor, I don't expect what I tell my counselor, the counselor will go and tell the managing partner. That's spilling the beans, and it's not right. They should work towards establishing a mental health department and put the right staff there.
Thank you, Joy. I can see time is running out, so I want us to move towards a close. That picture you're seeing there is a picture of a manager, and as we said, a manager as well, the employer as well, also undergoes their own, mental distress. So we should always, consider the employer. This is how the next slide is, some of the things that I'm not bringing this to a close. I'm summarizing what you've been talking about. That's someone there who is handling a lot. There's anxiety, there's harassment from work, there's work overload, business crisis, bullying from, yes, and by the way, we should have touched on that. What is the role of my colleagues in ensuring that, because we said this thing is a team thing. Yes, the role of my peers in ensuring that my mental wellness is taken care of. Maybe just 3 seconds, Joy, because we don't have much time. What's the role of my peers?
All I can say, well, how I can summarize it is your peers should respect your boundaries. I have my work, I have my role that I play in an organization. You have your role that you should play, that you do play. There should be a clear cut on how we handle our tasks. Si ati ukipatiwa kazi unakuja unaniwekea, you go home, me I remain here working late and expect that we'll be good buddies. No, we should respect each other's role and position. But there are also those instances where you find that maybe I see Njoki is overloaded and at least my desk is a bit free. Give a lending hand and go and say, hi Njoki, Henley, give me work that I can help you do. For peers, it's all about boundaries. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, Joy. And what I also love most is what you said about giving a helping hand, because the essence is providing a support system. Maybe you need you're in a financial fix and your family needs some support. You're raising some money for someone, where now your peers come in for you, and I like that kind of support, because if I understand that Joy is going through a difficult period in her life, I'm even able to come and fill in for her at her workplace. If Joy is having an issue that is making her not be able to deliver as expected, I'm able to understand even before the issue goes to the top to the superiors, how can we cover each other? Your peers, how do you support your peers? Before your boss comes barking on your desk mate because they have not been doing their work as expected, because they have been coming to work late, before they come to, like, what have you done to help that person? Look at this. I hope all of us can see that picture. This was a LinkedIn post posted by a lady called Linda Amiani. It was a long post, but this just captures what she was addressing. She says, last working day, manager says, please return the laptop and everything else we have given you. And me, I'm thinking, how do I return depression? That picture for me tells me about some of the mental issues or distress or emotional distress that comes with that season where you're terminating the relationship between the employer and the employee, and as well as the rest of the staff, because we have said this thing is twofold. But also we have a third picture here. So when it comes for time for this relationship to end, I have to leave this workplace. How does that affect the two people involved? How is the employer affected? How is the employee affected? And how can this be addressed?
Thank you for that, Njoki. For the employer, basically, we look at it from this angle, in that maybe you have resigned to go and get greener pastures. Let's assume that's true. So there's person A. Person A has resigned from my organization. I'm the employer. So how the mental torture that I will be going through, person A is a performer, have that in mind. The mental torture I'll be going through is, how will I replace person A? And the replacement of person A comes in with other, let's say, other things, other babies, whereby you have to train that person A to be better than the person who to be in the same position as the person who has resigned, aiming that training will make that person A to be more better than the person who has just resigned. So to the client is that issue of anxiety, like, what will happen to my organization? How will I cater for the trainings of this person? Because I have to go into my pockets again to cater for the fresh training of that person. And in terms of the employee, there's the issue of depression. Maybe you are fired, you don't know about tomorrow, you don't know how you pay your bills, you don't know anything. What you know is you just have life. So there's that issue of also anxiety. The other issue is that as I return the laptop, the tangible things, what about these intangible things that cannot be seen? How do I return depression? The depression that comes from the overworkload, the underpayment, the discrimination, the racism, the abusive environment. How do I return that? You see, at the end of the day, yes, I've returned the tangible equipment of the organization, but I will carry home the intangible ones that will eat me up, and probably affect my next step that I'll make towards bettering my career.
So Joy, what I'm hearing from you is we need to look at an employment space wholesomely.
Yes,
that we're not just here to work. Here are minds involved. Here are hearts involved. So even as we work together, I need to understand that when this relationship will end, there is a part of it that may not be handed over. I will give you back your laptop, I will give you back your working equipment, and I will go home with my depression that you gave me. But also look at it on the other end as well for the employer. Even you, whatever emotional baggage that you left in me or you invested in me, I'm also going to remain with it. So I think this is just to spark our minds to think about a working space as beyond the documentation, as beyond delivering the tangible work. There are relationships involved, there are lives involved, there are hearts involved. Okay, so we need to look at at it wholesomely. And that is what mental health entails when you're talking about the workspace. I want to summarize this session, and I hope it has been helpful for you. If you have any question or comment, just throw in there. This picture here, or they call it an infographic, for me shows what an ideal, healthy, and safe environment in a workplace would look like. There's mentorship, career development, and training of the people that are in that workspace. There is celebration. Yes, one thing that I think demoralizes people in a workplace is when they are not celebrated and when they are not appreciated for things done. People are always saying what you're doing, what you're not doing, or what you're doing badly, the negative things. But we need to be able to celebrate people for their achievements and appreciate them when they do good things. That really lifts someone up. And you see, when someone is not appreciated in a space, they feel unwanted, or rather they feel unvalued. You feel that I'm not valued in this space, which could be a cause for emotional distress or mental stress. Contribution, ethics, trust, team, learn, uplifted, win, positivity, fun, creativity, people. The workspace is about people. We should not make the workspace about the work as opposed to people. So work should not come before people. People are first, and then work comes second, because if the people are not taken care of, work will not be done. It's about relationships. It's about anxiety. It's about recognition. It's about growth. It's about motivation, retention, listen to people, get to know what they're going through. And one thing, as we were having this conversation with Joy before we began this webinar, we were saying that sometimes when you see someone is not performing well, you need to go and understand what could be the reason, what could be the underlying reason as to why this person is behaving in a certain way. Maybe there are issues that they're experiencing that need first to be handled. So be there to understand what someone is going through. Purpose, engagement, culture, development, and strength. And finally,
Joki, before you end,
yes, Joy.
I think there's this angle that we mentioned, but we have not talked. Those people who are in the their mental state has already been affected.
Oh yeah, someone who is already having mental issues. They're bipolar, they're depressed, they have anxiety issues. So how do we help them?
I think first we should, as peers, as colleagues, as whoever we are in the organization, or part of that person's life, we should give a lending ear. And we should always endeavor to engage them. We don't give them that long time, because that's where they will start thinking, like you should give a lending ear and let them lead the conversation, but also engage them. If they lead the conversation and at the same point you're engaging them, you'll be able to gather more information, which in turn you may be in a position to address them, to help them address certain issues, if not all, some.
Yeah.
I think that's how that can be handled.
Before I go to the chat session, Joy, I want you to make your final remarks so that when I make my final remarks, we just close the session.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you, Njoki, too, for this session. And please remember that we do upload our weekly webinars on our YouTube channel. We do have a YouTube channel. And kindly remember to subscribe on the same. We do upload our videos on, you may access them from Friday evening. So from Saturday morning till the other week, you can watch them, and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you so much, Joy. So, there was a question here. How do you handle being bashed right, left, and center by your supervisors, and they pretend to be good to the boss to see if you will quit? Well, Jackie, I think this is an issue of speaking up. Yeah, sometimes you just have to speak up. Speak up and call out the pretense. It's fear that sometimes it's fear that keeps us in our oppressed state. Just speak out, don't be afraid. Great session from Chris Moasia. Thank you so much. Christiana Mosil is asking, how do you deal with a situation where new employees face rejection from their peers? Yeah, this is quite a difficult situation. I think this goes back to the place of, supporting each other. So if you find that another employee is going through, your colleague is going through rejection from their fellow employees, you can also come in, intervene and address the situation. Say, by the way, I don't like the way you handle this and this person. Intervene if you feel another person is oppressed and they need your help. Yeah, so Faith Makenga is saying, insightful session, Joy and Joki. Thank you so much. Thank you, Makenga, for your kind comments. So with that, would like to close this session. Thank you so much.